My girlfriend and I have been dating for 2 years a week prior to this post. She and I spend a lot of time together and know each other very well. I have had some relationships issues in the past, so I'm very forward and communicative because of situations I've been in relationships in the past. I am irrationally afraid of clowns. I have to emphasize the irrational part. My dad used to watch scary movies when I was a kid and it was one of his favorites. This movie has had such an impact on my life that I have been to the hospital for panic attacks because of incidents with clown in which my girlfriend was there for. We went to a haunted house and long story short, I was very affected by the clown portion. Ultimately, I say this to say she knows of my fear and the effect it has on me. We had a pretty big argument over her not working the past month. She brought up a feeling of stagnation and depression, and I attributed it to her unemployment, as in my experience while working sucks, being productive is a very big driver in motivation and overall mental health. I am a very blunt and forward person and struggle a bit with empathy, so looking back on it, I was a bit rude. She took this as me saying she was lazy and nonchalant about her career. Ultimately, I'm not concerned about that. While I do want her to be successful, I more want her to be happy. I assume she felt attacked, and instead of communicating this to me and us working it out, she internalized it and has taken to retaliation. After a long night of socializing with our friends, we went back to my apartment. She turned on a movie and we sat together watching it for a while. I drifted asleep and was soon awoken by her in a full clown Halloween costume. This was one of the most terrifying and frightening experiences I may have ever had. Falling asleep with someone I'm completely vulnerable and have a lot of trust for to be awoken by my true worst fear sent me to a full-fledged panic attack. I couldn't breathe, in my own home nonetheless, and was paralyzed by fear. She not only targeted my weakness but continued tormenting me while I hyperventilated, and I was soon in tears, curled up on the floor, struggling to breathe. After what felt like years, truthfully 5 minutes, she took off the costume trying to comfort me and bringing me an inhaler, but started saying that was how I made her feel after speaking about her not having a job. I really love her, we felt like such a perfect match, but to attack me so personally and without communication of the underlying issue prior, I have truly lost all trust for her. I told her to leave me the alone and get out of my house. Obviously this went over poorly, but I have never felt so betrayed by someone I loved before. She hasn't spoken to me for the 2 weeks since despite my efforts, and I'm truly exhausted in trying. Am I the asshole? Do I deserve this or should I move on? 6 days later. This was definitely premeditated. I spoke with one of her friends who dates a good buddy of mine, and she spilled a lot of tea on the situation. Of course, underlying issues I contributed to led to this, but it was intended as a prank. I did have the chance to speak with her, but it certainly didn't end up the way I envisioned it. She planned this out, bought a cheap costume and intended to prank me as, and I quote, a lesson. Her lesson brought up a lot of childhood trauma for me, and I don't have much of a support system for those things. I broke up with her once I heard her side, and she was very frustrated. She cursed at me and swore no one would love such a shitty person. The irony of the situation only but made me laugh, and I realized maybe she could find a job in her newly found free time. In the past few days I've decided to seek counseling and therapy for a lot of the trust issues, and ultimately I hope to work on my fear. Thank you all for your responses.